Welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I am your host, Nathan Ragland, and for today's episode, well, I'm glad that the fates aligned to provide such an incredible interview that I think is going to put quite the spell on you once you listen. Today's guest is Brooke Burnett, better known as Brooskee, an award-winning animator who's worked for the likes of Spindlehorse, Toons, and Jaiden animations, as well as providing some incredible short films of her own. Brooke is actually someone that I've been wanting to get on the podcast for a while, seeing some of the incredible animation that she's been able to provide. So I'm so grateful that we got the opportunity to provide this interview for you guys that I know you all are going to absolutely enjoy. If you enjoy Brooke, please make sure to support her with the links down in the description below. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. You know I see that stuff, and you know I absolutely love it. If you want to go a little further with that support, maybe you should consider checking out the incredible merch shop that we have in the link in the description below. Provided by Fourth Wall, you can get some incredible streetwear that I think you would look fantastic in today, including the incredible new shoes. I mean, seriously, have you looked at these things? These things are absolutely outstanding. And look, if all you want is a nice, cool, casual place to where you can see some of the former guests of the podcast, meet up with other artists, and really develop as a community, maybe you should consider joining our Discord server, the Artist Sanctuary. The group that we have amassed there is absolutely incredible, and I cannot get enough of the people that are in there and seeing some of the stuff that they've been able to provide. And that's why you need to be an incredible addition to that group today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. How are you
also
doing?
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you as well after all this time.
Yeah.
I'll say, I don't remember how long ago it was that I first recognized your stuff. I remember the first thing that got me hooked onto your stuff I've been paying attention to your stuff for at least a good couple of years at this point, so there you go.
Oh wow, that's so crazy. Well, thank you. I'm honored.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be surprised, but it was the hypotheticals video or whatnot that kind of got me on board.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, that was a while ago. Oh, well, that's so cool. Well, Thank you. I'm so honored and excited to be here today.
Well, it is an honor to have you here as well. Can you continue speaking for a quick second? I'm trying to make sure that your audio levels are set right on my end.
Oh yeah, sure. Do I need to, maybe if I pull my mic closer?
No, I'll say it's good on you. If I need to, I can manually change the volume on my end. That's why I just want to make sure that if it's, just talk for a second so I can make sure it's good.
Yeah, for sure. Red leather. I already fucked up. Red leather, yellow leather. See, this is why I do art, not theater.
Voice acting and stuff like that.
Yeah, not for me.
I mean, you say that, but you do have a voice acting credit in your own short film, regardless. But
yeah. Well, that's because I wish I had the finances to pay somebody else, but I was like, I'll just use my own voice. But
all right, Brooke. Before we really get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accord. It's just you, alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, truly enjoy yourself for a little bit. With accommodations, you're not stranded on a desert island. It's like a little personal island paradise for you.
Oh, okay.
But to help make sure you don't go completely, crazy on this island, you can bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is gonna take me forever to figure out. I don't know, because there's some things where you watch it and it fits the need for that moment when you're watching it. So, what would my specific need set be for the being on an island? Honestly,
I mean, like I said, this is like your own little like personal island paradise or whatnot. So like,
Yeah.
like it depends on how like, do you want to go with like a more relaxed vibe with what you're trying to think of, or like do you want to like take that time that you have away from society to really go in depth with something? Like the possibilities are basically endless when it comes to what you can bring on this island.
Okay, I think I would go I would take something like auditory, like a podcast. I'm currently listening through a few podcasts.
Would one
Like,
of them be the Postmodern Art Podcast? The podcast dedicated
oh
to
yeah, that's actually my answer.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But in all seriousness, I am a podcast nut myself, so I'm intrigued. What kind of podcasts are you thinking of right now?
So, gosh, there's one currently, like maybe this would be the thing to like give me a sense that I'm still in touch with society. There's one called Get Played that's like about video games.
Okay.
So I could get like my little like dopamine hit of technology like through my ears, but while still experiencing the visuals of nature and the island.
Okay.
So either that or there's another one called NADPod, which is not another D&D podcast.
Okay.
It's really good, and I feel like that would sort of like be good like narrative entertainment to keep me like if I need a break from like nature sounds or something, I just pop that in my ears. Because I think I'd be enthralled like visually on the island, but I'd get bored with like my own thoughts. So
I mean, true. I can get where you're kind of coming from with that one. I mean, either way, with both of those choices, when it comes to that, I mean, like they're very good for obviously different reasons. Like you said, like the gaming one or whatnot. Like if nothing else, it gives you a reason to not stay on that island too long and be like, okay, I gotta get back to society because this game's coming out soon, so I gotta definitely rock that as much as I can.
absolutely.
But like the D&D podcast, like personally for me, I need to invest myself in more like D&D narrative podcasts more than anything else, because like the worlds that they can develop both with the chaos of the party itself, but also like depending on what the podcast is, the time that they take to really go with like the sound design and really make you feel immersed in those situations, like that would be a great like escape from your escape more than anything else.
Yeah. Like I need to take this to another level. Like I can't be on the island anymore for like 2 hours. I need to step away. So.
That's valid.
Yeah.
But regardless, either way, one of those two fantastic podcasts. Those are your answers. You're locking that in.
Those are my answers. I would probably flip a coin because I hate making decisions. So I would put those two on the roster, flip a coin, whatever fate decides, and that would be what I go with.
So. Or we could just give you access to Spotify so you can just go through those podcasts, whatever podcast possible.
That is true. Spotify can be my cop-out answer. I'm like, it's technically media because it's an app.
Look, I've let people get away with so much more, like just the entirety of YouTube or like the access to the internet or whatnot. So saying Spotify is not too much of a cop-out answer, okay?
Okay, well, I do the coin flip. I feel like I have to make some sort of decision, and that would be so one of those two. We'll see.
Well, I appreciate your honesty regardless. And regardless, I think those are fantastic answers and a perfect way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. I think you would look fantastic in the brand new merch that we have on fourthwall.com, including the brand new shoes that we've got selling up there. They look absolutely fantastic. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. She is an award-winning animator and doodler who's worked with the likes of Spindlehorse, Toons, and Jaiden Animations, among many others. Welcome to the podcast, Brooskee, aka Brooke Bennett. Brooke Burnett. Why did I say Bennett? Brooke Burnett.
Is that my name? Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. Sorry.
I don't know why my brain auto-corrected that first R as an N. Why did it do that?
Don't worry about it. I don't know. I'm not trying to escape my identity or something. I don't know. Try to make a joke out of it. I failed. But
well,
anyways,
well, regardless, thank you, Brooke Burnett, for taking the time to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little sleepy. I stayed up a little too late last night, but I'm having a good day, just chilling out. I'm here and this is awesome. So,
Well, I'd like to imagine that the reason why I say it was to continue working on some of the incredible projects that you've been working on. Though if not, I don't blame you. I get it. But that's why I wanted to have you here more than anything else. Like I said a little earlier, I've been paying attention to your stuff for a while, and to see kind of the opportunities you've been able to get is absolutely outstanding. And I definitely wanted to delve more into that. But before we talk about the stuff you're working on nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of Brooke. What got you interested in art and animation in the first place?
let's see. I think well, I was like me and my brother growing up, like we were huge and just like into watching cartoons. Like that was how we bonded.
Okay.
And so whenever we would like watch cartoons together or whenever he would play video games, like I would always be drawing. Um and it was just like something like I did subconsciously. Like it wasn't even like an like something I had thought of or put thought into. It was like, oh, like I'm looking at something, I need to draw it. Like I'm watching these characters move on the screen. I want to like capture that in my own sense. Or like even when we were playing with toys like Ninja Turtles or like Littlest Pet Shop, I'd be like, oh, I need to inspect this little gadget and like it wasn't even something that like it just came natural to me. I really don't have any other way to explain it. So I just like seeing all these characters through like toys and media, that was really sort of my entry point into eventually understanding that I wanted to like do that as a career. But like growing up, it was just like it it was just instinct for me to do that.
I mean, that's valid, especially with some of the stuff that you were talking about, and especially some of the creativity, some of those like different avenues kind of invited, especially for kids at a young age. I mean,
Hmm.
you talk about like the action figures alone, like how many times, because I'm guilty, obviously every kid's guilty of this at some point, but how many times did we do our own like fantastical, like amazing scenarios, like in our heads, like just with the little toys, or like especially like the Littlest Pet Shop or whatnot, just like the little toys and being like, oh, how dare you like steal the cat food or something silly like that.
Yeah, precisely. You like create narratives for them, and part of like creating that narrative was like for me like drawing it out. And I was like, I need to capture this. Yeah. So
Do you remember, like, I know you mentioned a couple with like the Ninja Turtles and the Littlest Pep Shop. Was there any other like properties like that in the beginning of your kind of you know development more than anything else that really helped inspire that creativity for you?
definitely. Well, I feel like this one was more later on. Because Littlest Pet Shop was like something that I think my parents just got for me like all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
I was really encapsulated by My Little Pony and
Okay.
like that franchise as it especially like grew with the new release of I think Generation 4 is like the Hasbro one.
Right.
Um so it yeah, that was like huge and that eventually got me into like creating OCs digitally, like creating digital art and then posting it on DeviantArt and actually engaging with like other people creating like their own characters. So I think that was like probably the biggest like franchise to give me like a sort of tether to another world. I'm trying to think of other ones specifically. Definitely Sonic, that was a big one.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Sonic is I love Sonic. I don't really play a lot of the games. I love the music and I love the characters and the lore, but I'm like so bad with like quick paced games, which is so sad because that's all Sonic is. So I would just watch my brother play and I'd like tune in for like the moments of dialogue or like the story beats. But then whenever like he was playing and it was going so fast, I would just draw. So I was selective with what I consumed for Sonic.
I'll say, well, depending on what era that was or what, that wasn't Sonic going fast. That was just the game breaking in several different ways, especially the '06 version.
Yeah, that was oh gosh, I'm like remembering watching every Sonic game has its ups and downs, but I just
Right.
remember like watching Sonic Color, like my brother play Sonic Colors, and I'm like, this is not the same as it just doesn't feel that it doesn't feel right as the other. Anyways, I don't know.
Well, regardless, I'm now curious. When did it go from just like this kind of general love and kind of a development of creativity to a passion and truly wanting to make it your career?
I think that was probably in late middle school to early high school.
Okay.
Um, because I was throwing around ideas for careers that were more like business jobs because I felt sort of pushed to take like a safer path, whatever that means.
Mm,
Because I do like organization. I feel like I could do well in a management field or something business oriented, but I don't think I would be like
happy with it?
fulfilled. Yeah, I wouldn't be very happy with it, especially if I wouldn't be drawing every day.
Hmm.
And so taking that into consideration, I was like, well, if I draw, then it's what am I even gonna do? And then I think I saw like one of those videos. Um, I don't know if like Cartoon Network made it or if it was just like a little highlight video of like from another company that essentially was explaining like how Rebecca Sugar like came to be the showrunner for Steven Universe and how she went to school and how it was like now her career and how she always grew up with art. And it didn't really occur to me that there were like lists like whole like different categories of jobs to be found within creating cartoons. Like to
Right.
me it was always just something like I see it on the screen. Like sure people draw it, but like it didn't like the connection was not made in my head until like I had somebody explain it to me on in this like video. I was like, "Oh, well that's really cool." And then I like started looking more into it and I eventually went to college for animation and now I'm here. So,
Yeah, there you are. Just I get that like moment of realization of like, oh wait, that's how it goes. Okay, because I was basically the same
yeah.
way. I was basically the same way. So I went to college in a field called mass media. It's supposed to encompass like TV, film, audio, all that jazz. Like it's all
Mhm.
encompassing, big bubble term more than anything else. But like I went in for like the sports casting aspect because I was a huge sports person. I
Oh,
thought,
wow.
okay, I think I could fit well in this, and maybe I can get, be a announcer or something like that at some point in the future. But when I got to college, it wasn't until like I was really in like the class and stuff like that, and I sort of understood of like, oh, so this is how like film and stuff is supposed to be developed more than anything else. Like this is there are different people that do like different tasks, and it's all like a big giant layer to provide this thing. I don't know why, but I guess in my mind it's like, well, it's kind of like the same five people, they all do the same thing, and boom, push it out, which isn't too far from the truth, but
Mhm. Mhm.
but still, like I guess I didn't realize how in depth it was until I was right there in that field. So I understand where you're coming from, which is kind of that like moment of realization, especially seeing like Rebecca Sugar probably talking about their journey and such to being obviously the showrunner of one of the biggest animated shows of like our generation more than anything else.
Yeah, oh my gosh. It's cool to see like how those like moments like that occur to you. Like it happens to multiple people like in different fields. And I think that's so interesting that I like if you had asked me to guess, like I don't think I would have ever guessed that you were like you had originally gone into like sports
Yeah.
casting. But that's so cool that like you made that journey to get to like where you are now and like you sort of had that
Yeah.
discovery.
It's one of those, I went to college for sports casting and I ended up being a forklift operator. You tell me where that connection makes.
But yeah, I mean, you're being creative. Like
Yeah,
you're
no,
hosting this
absolutely.
podcast. You're giving people a platform. Like it's that in itself is like really miraculous. So
Absolutely. There was something about your description that I wanted to just cherry pick for just a quick second, and I'm sure you can confirm, like reinforce this or deny it or whatnot. But you mentioned Rebecca Sugar. I imagine you can correct me if I'm wrong. Was like Rebecca Sugar and Steven Universe a major influence on your art journey as well?
oh my gosh, absolutely. Like getting into DeviantArt. Like I mostly My Little Pony was like my main focus,
Mm-hmm.
and then my brother walked into my room and he was like, "You want to watch Steven Universe with me?" And I was like, "What is that?" and we just watched it, and I wasn't hooked at first, but then like a few episodes in, I didn't realize like how invested I was, and it just became like this ritual where we would keep watching it together. And then I like realized that I couldn't really draw humans, like I wasn't good at it. I only knew how to draw ponies. And so I was like, I will look at Steven Universe, and like that heavily influenced my style as well. Um yeah, sorry, I
No, you're
think I
good. You're
derailed
good.
from the original question, but
No, honestly, that works perfectly in line with the question more than anything else. Because I was obviously asking how much of an influence that kind of had with you in your art career. So seeing that how like it kind of helped reinforce your art skills and develop more when it came to like the human drawing aspect, especially for like the unique characters that you see on Steven Universe. Like that's
yeah,
a good reinforcement of like how to really draw good like just visually appealing characters and ones that really draw your attention more than anything else.
absolutely. Yeah, it gave me like a good, without really realizing it, I think it gave me a good foundation for like shape language and just use of colors and like shapes to match characteristics. And I yeah, it's good media to say the very least.
That honestly, that's extremely valid more than anything else. I mean, I know people, especially nowadays, like to clown on Steven Universe for the plot points or whatnot, but like plot aside, the art of it was something else. The art of it
Oh,
was absolutely
absolutely.
amazing. Um, and I can also imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I believe this connection also works. But is Rebecca Sugar also part of the reason why you decided to go to college to SVA? Because didn't she graduate from SVA, or am I incorrect in thinking that?
No, you're correct. I think it was like that was a good percentage of it. Probably like if I had to put it in a percentage, I would say like 55% of the reason
Okay.
why. So the leading probably was the leading factor because I once we had gotten to the point where I don't think we finished Steven Universe, but we were far into the story, and I was like researching Rebecca Sugar, researching colleges, and I was just like seeing just how much joy this show brought to people and how much of an influence it had on me. And I was like, I want to do that. Like I want to be able to like share stories with people and learn how to do animations so that I can work in the creative field. And I think like that was a big leading component. I was considering a few other colleges, um, but I had never like lived anywhere outside of well, I lived in Pennsylvania for a time, but my family is from like Virginia, and it's
Okay.
like complete 180 of New York, and I really wanted like a different environment to live in. And a lot of the other colleges I were looking at were like Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, like very similar like spaces, and I just wanted something like completely different because my like to give to paint a better picture, my parents' house, like there's two cow pastures on either side,
Mm-hmm.
and the closest store is like 30 minutes away, so it's literally like middle of nowhere, whereas we're in New York, like you can walk outside and get a sandwich in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Look,
and I wanted that change, so that was a big reason why I
again,
went to
look,
SVA.
I also relate to that a lot as well. Like I live in basically in, to be blunt, bumfuck nowhere, Georgia, more than anything else. So like
Hmm.
I get that.
Hmm.
Man. I went to one of those
You
high
get
school.
it.
I went to one of those high schools to where if you were not in the FFA, the Future Farmers of America, you
Oh
were one of the
yes,
weird ones. I was one of the weird ones because I wasn't in FFA.
I was almost in FFA, but then I wanted to do what's it? National Artist on NAHS.
Okay.
And so it was like there's like weird, like if you were in one club, you could only be in so many other clubs, and like a lot of the schedule collided. So I was like, I don't know that much about livestock, so I'll do the art one instead.
Imagine how different your life had been if you decided to go with the livestock over the
I
art.
know, I know. I feel like it wouldn't have been like something like butterfly, some weird butterfly effect would have happened. Like it just wouldn't have been right.
I was gonna say, I also feel like based on what you were talking about earlier with like the organization skills and how you could have gotten a different kind of career in that, like going in the lifestyle thing, I think you wouldn't have been as fulfilled as you are right now being in
Mhm.
the art field. So I mean, I think it worked out in the end, but it's always interesting to have that like what if moment, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been a, yeah, for lack of a better word, it would have been interesting.
But I think regardless, I think you made the good choice by dipping out of your comfort zone with Virginia and heading up to New York for SVA. I can only imagine like well, you already kind of mentioned how much of a culture shock it kind of was right off the
Oh
bat.
yeah.
But like, was SVA, at least your experience there, kind of what you were expecting, or was it like completely different? Like, how was your experience at SVA?
It so in regards to like living in a completely different like cultural environment, it was I was so just like overwhelmed in a good way. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen like so many different like cultures, races, like religions all in one place like coexisting. It that and it was just inspiring to me because I got to like soak all of that in, and I felt very more like I felt like my understanding of like different perspectives had really broadened, and that was really what I was searching for. Um, and then I could, further on, like incorporate that into my artwork and into my further stories, just by sort of soaking in all this new information. So that part, like, I felt very fulfilled by. SVA, I love it. I love my experience with it, but it was a very demanding schedule.
Right.
Because you have like a lot of the teachers like set their own coursework, and there's sometimes not the most communication from teacher to teacher, especially if like you're taking a class, say, in pottery, but that's in the fine arts department, and then you're taking a class in character design, and that's in the animation department. There's not a lot of discussion between the two departments for, the coursework or the course load rather to be divvied out. So sometimes like if you maybe have the wrong not the wrong, but like a certain combination of classes, you could be assigned a lot more work than say another individual who just has a completely different combination of classes.
Right.
So in that regard, it there were times where I was getting very little sleep, but I don't think I would have traded any of it because a lot of the faculty and staff are like very understanding. They want you to succeed. They like really push you to be as creative as you possibly can, and just like challenge you to like go beyond what you're comfortable with. And I personally needed that because there were moments where I felt myself like sticking inside of like a comfort bubble, but then I would see something that my classmates doing, and my teacher would maybe like give us a really insightful lecture, and like every single day, like both in and out of the classroom, like there were things that just like challenged my artistic like scope.
Mm-hmm.
I, I'm using all these vague terms, but I'm sorry, I'm like philosophical. Uh, but yeah, it was good. It was very engaging, but sometimes like all of that exciting stuff was just like it drained me. But it was very formative.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you said vague terms, but let's be honest. What you were probably describing was just, I guess, the standard college experience more than
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
else.
for
Like,
sure.
at least the standard good college experience, I should say. Because on one hand, yeah, you're a little sleep deprived. Yeah, you got a whole bunch of stuff that you're juggling and stuff like that. But as you probably will learned in the real world or whatnot, it wasn't too much different. There was a lot of work in one way or another.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
but on the other hand, it was a truly, I guess the word's probably like a culturally enriching and like artistically enriching experience for you, like really reinforcing kind of that desire that you had to like the umpth degree with like, incredible instructors really leading you in the right direction and opportunities for you to really like, work on your craft and really like develop as an artist.
Oh, 100%. I'm so thankful for like just like there's some professors where without their instruction, I don't think I'd be where I am today. Like they're they give you or they'd given me and a lot of my peers like immensely valuable information, and not like beyond trying to figure out my words. Sorry.
Hey, if you need to use more words than possible, this is a podcast. You have the time for
Okay,
it.
awesome. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, beyond even like artistic like practices, more like even like organizational schedule mindset practices. Like my freshman year teacher, I think he was the very first class that I had at SVA. He was one of his biggest points, like to just really drill into us, was like, are you doing what makes you happy? Because if you're not, you need to figure out what makes you happy.
Yes.
Because if you're here just to prove something, then you're like, then get out. Not that you can't have to, something to prove or want something to prove, like while in art school. But if you're gonna be miserable about it, then what's the point? Like your main goal should be to derive happiness or emotion or some sort of fulfillment.
Yeah, spite can only carry you so far when it comes to art. Okay.
Yeah, it can really drain a person. So
I mean, and especially with some of the experience that you were able to showcase to the world more than anything else, like I can tell that like there was certainly a good bit of development. I know, obviously, while there was plenty of opportunities for you to really develop some like really incredible visions and bring them to life. At least the earliest one that I was able to find was for a little independent film called Keijo. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm curious. I imagine this obviously wasn't an assignment, but how did this concept of keijo come to be? And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, how would you like to enlighten and describe this wonderful tale to them?
Yes. So keijo follows the story of a young satyr boy who sort of, without spoiling too much, sort of challenges this ideal that his family has about like danger and the unknown. It's a very short, like 3-minute film, and I made it in my sophomore year of college, and that was like during the COVID year. It was in like 2020 to 2021, or did I finish it? I'm trying to remember. No, I finished it in 2021. That's right. But yeah, I feel like I got to like really like take a lot more time with it than I would normally have, because I was just sitting in my desk 24/7, and when I wasn't, on a Zoom class, I was at my computer just working on that film.
At least you're learning.
So, yeah.
At least you're learning the animation grind set right off the bat.
That's true. I was kind of thrown into it. The universe was just like, okay, into the deep end you go.
There you go. But regardless, like I saw that film as I was doing my research for this and whatnot. It is a very sweet film, like more than anything else. Like the character designs are like really cool and distinct. Like it's really interesting, the world you kind of set up. The story, like simple yet effective, and I cannot help but love it more than anything, especially the way that ended was just this nice little like soft, sweet, somber note more than anything else. Like I think for a first go round when it comes to animation like that, you did a really good job. I can only imagine, especially with some of the awards that you've been able to get from that film or whatnot. Like it must have been a fun experience, like seeing that really truly develop and seeing people like really respond to it positively.
Yeah, it was huge for me, because I didn't really think about or think how much of an impact it would have on, like, I guess just my own art development, and like how much happiness it would make me feel, not to have it finished necessarily, but to be able to share it with other people. And I don't mean that to sound vain. Like it just feels good when you get to share art with other people and like get some sort of reaction out of them, and conjure even like a tiny like glimpse of an emotion like that. That's what art is meant to do. And the fact that I got to do that through like a full, even though it was a short film, like a full story, I was like, that's what I want to do. Like that's what I want to do all the time. And even though it took me such a long period of many months to get to that point, it kind of just like reinvigorated my continual like desire to just like make more films throughout college.
Yeah, again, I totally get where you're coming from, because especially like, because I imagine, like you said right from the, a little earlier about like how you were in this basically farm town more than anything else, like the cow pastures or whatnot. There wasn't really a whole lot of opportunities for you to really tell stories like that, unless it's on like a very small scale for you to manage. But like here you are on like a really you know, with more resources at your disposal and more experience with the classes and such, really being able to go forth and truly develop something that's, like I said, very sweet, very somber, very, beautiful at the end of the day. Like, it's more or less like a reinforcement of like, hey, I'm here for a reason. This is that reason. Like, I can't believe I'm actually able to do this kind of thing. I was the same way every single time whenever I was able to make a short film in college and such. Like, no matter how good or how bad the story was, I was able to go forth, make something incredible, put it out there, and people in one form or another found a way to love and appreciate it.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. Like, yes. Just that good happy feeling.
And I guess that was also further reinforced with your follow-up when it came to keijo, or at least one of them, because I'm trying to figure out the exact timeline when it came to projects and stuff like that. But the one I wanted to at least bring up next is at least the next completed one, the spellbinding, I believe it's pronounced, or whatnot. Again, how did this concept come to be? And for those who have not watched it, how would you describe this fun little short?
Okay, this is a much sillier story about two kids that are playing a Magic the Gathering-esque card game that goes bad very fast.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. If you don't,
please watch it. It's a very short
funny.
Film. It's extremely funny.
Not to toot my own horn, it's kind of funny. But yeah, creating that one, because keijo had more of like a serious tone, it was something that made me happy, but I wanted to be like a little more light-hearted and like wacky and kind of do something more comical. And also junior year was, because I made that one during my junior year, it was so much for me because I was juggling like a part-time job, an internship, I had like a full course load. I was an RA, like doing all of these things. And I was like, okay, if I'm not making something that's going to make me laugh, then I'm going to be miserable because this is just going to be another like assignment to me. So I was like, I really had to make something funny or else I would just not mentally be here. And yeah, the spelling was born. And I sort of fell into Magic the Gathering because I had met someone at a D&D live show, and we just started talking about it, and we're now like friends, and we play Magic like on like a consistent basis. But I was like, I've never played it, and I really want to play it. And he was like, oh, we'll hang out. I'll teach you how to play, and we'll play together. And then like I learned how to play, and I was like, I want to make my film about this because this game is like really fun, but also it has 1 million rules, and it's so stupid, and I love it.
Yeah, you've basically described Magic the Gathering in a nutshell. Yeah.
It's fun, 1 million rules, and half the time those rules don't make sense.
Exactly. Yeah. I've tried to be at least vaguely interested in Magic the Gathering because I got a couple buddies that are like super duper into it, but every time I'm looking at exactly like how they play and like the rules and stuff like that, my brain is just like that one gif of the woman with like the math equations going like across the stuff.
No, it is insane. Like I sometimes like a card will say something and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I should know what this means, and then I'll have to Google it, and I'm like, I still don't get it. I'll just, it's fine. It's whatever.
And kind of translating that into more or less like to not really spoil it, but to kind of illustrate that into like the childlike wonder and like imagination on full force when they're playing this like little card game, especially the fun little twist that you had in there. That if nothing else, that was just like the most meme worthy moment. I absolutely love that moment like so much. Thank you for including that in there.
Of course. I actually, well, spoiler alert, I do have the card. Like, my friend made me
have the card.
Should I get it? Or
yes,
should
go get it. Go get it. Get it right now. We will be right back. All right, let's see this
Um,
beautiful card.
this beautiful card. So my dear friend, who I'm gonna shout out, I don't know his screen name, but his name is Sean. He helped me color on my film. He's in the credits. For Christmas, he made me this beautiful card.
Yes!
Which is the card.
Yes! Yes!
And it even has like the back design.
Oh, that's great. That's incredible.
It was so thoughtfully made, and it just says spell card, you are now dead.
Is the counter can it be countered with pizza bagel bites?
Yes, but that is a rare foil, really hard to get. It's like worth $100. You know, it's a rare card. So
duly noted.
Yeah.
I once again, I gotta imagine, especially like the reception to that, getting more fantastic awards from that, more than anything else like that. It must have been fun to see like how like different tone it was from Keijo, but also like just how fun of an experience, how fun it made. How much everyone enjoyed it. That's the words I'm looking for. Words are wonderful.
No, I feel you.
It must have been great to see how everyone just kind of enjoyed like the fun, lighthearted adventure you brought forth to them. It must have been fun to see everyone really enjoying it.
No, yeah, I absolutely get what you mean. It was because I had never experienced like just getting such intense reactions to the scene where I'm just gonna say it, where like Sadie shoots Jeff, where some people like they like audible gasp, and because every year SVA has a screening for underclassmen films,
right?
So I got to show it there, and like these people who didn't know about the development of it, like because when you're doing classes with your grade, like a lot of the times they get to see it in development and they know what's gonna happen. Oh, hello, my cat is here.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry. But yeah, like the people that had never seen it, like just audible gasps. I'm so sorry, my cat is wheezing.
Oh.
He has asthma, and so he just jumps up on my desk and does this. I'm so sorry.
No. You only need to again. It wouldn't be the first time that I've had pets be a part of this podcast in one way or another. All right, so you're good.
He's Are you okay, buddy?
Get his inhaler.
We don't have his inhaler, unfortunately.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. But he's okay. It's
okay,
normally
okay.
It's something that comes and goes. I'm so sorry that
No. You do not need to apologize.
He's like right out of view. Here he is.
Go.
Well, I don't want to show him wheezing. I thought he was done. I'm so sorry.
Hey, again, you're perfectly fine. Did I not give you a heads up about dogs and stuff barking in the background of mine? Like,
glad I could like diffuse the tension of that. And now he's jumped down. He's just chilling now.
Okay, good.
He wanted to be on camera too.
He wanted to make his appearance known.
Yeah. And yeah, okay, so sorry for that intermission. He is no longer here. He just jumped off and now he's out of my room. But
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's ascended to another plane.
I just you just said the word that he is no longer here. Like, did he just die in like 5 seconds? Like,
I banished him to the shadow realm. He's no longer here.
Just like Sadie's banished.
Yeah. I used this card on him.
There you go.
I did not. Okay.
But as you were saying, like you had the screening for the underclassmen, and just hearing kind of like I guess the gasp for the moment more than anything else.
Yeah, it was so. It was just fun. And I really just love conjuring emotion out of people, and like throwing unexpected twists at them and making them like gasp or laugh or turn to their friend. And it's such a wonderful feeling to know that I could do that with like my art and with the help of so many like awesome people to sort of like make that into a reality and get to see so many different reactions to that is just so heartwarming.
I can imagine. I imagine that's something that you tried to carry into your senior year, especially with this little concept, little idea that I saw floating around here and there called "The Fates Align."
Oh yes, I the film is finished, but
Oh,
SBA sometimes they will like handpick a few films and like put them in a festival circuit. So I am technically not allowed to release it, but it will be
uh,
released. It's not until I'm looking at my calendar. I think late May,
okay.
early June. I need to double check, but it is coming and it will
Okay,
come.
but
It is finished. It is done.
regardless, it is just merely a matter of time. But I mean, even then, like the little teases I was able to catch of it here and there and whatnot, it looked like a really fun concept. Like, how would you describe the Fates Align for people that have again no idea what I'm talking about?
Yes. So the Fates Align. Oh, that's actually
Yeah, the poster they got in the
blanket.
background.
We had to design posters for our thesis films, and so that's the poster that I designed of like the three protagonists. Just
Nice,
I don't
nice.
know, dynamically doing stuff. Um, but yeah, so the Fates Align, in short, is three friends playing D&D and being silly about it and having a good time, and chaos ensues.
Oh,
It's your typical like D&D campaign where it's like, okay, we did not expect this to happen. We need to figure out how to do this without getting a total party kill. Um,
it is just
and that's what my film is about.
it is just basically standard D&D experience because every D&D experience there's just kind of a okay, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, like we didn't think about that happening. How are we gonna get out of this one?
I mean, that also kind of leads me to a point that I just briefly wanted to bring up because you kind of mentioned it in the icebreaker, and you mentioned it when you were talking about like your previous film, but like D&D seems to be like a major part of like your at least your creative process more than anything else. How did you kind of stumble into D&D, and how much has it kind of like really become a part of not only your life but kind of your creative force?
Yeah, I think I stumbled into D&D. Well, I always loved fantasy narratives.
Okay.
But I didn't really know a lot about D&D until probably like my final year of high school and going into college. Uh, and my parents, I don't hold this against them. I think they just maybe were fed some. They're just being very protective of the media that I consumed. And
Right.
it came from a place of love. And they didn't. I think because there was a lot of like death and fighting and all this crazy stuff in like D&D that you can really expand upon and play with, that they were like, we don't know if you should be playing that, like it's kind of crazy. And I was like, no, please, like it'll be fine, I'll be normal about it, I'll be so normal. um,
Normal.
uh, I'll be normal, as normal as one can be. But yeah, I had a friend in high school that was like, oh, do you like D&D? Well, or do you want to get into it? Well, my friend has a campaign. We'll play together. And so, him inviting me into his campaign and like playing a little bit and just really like throwing myself into like improv stories and like creating like backstories and slowly letting it like reveal over time and like getting to develop your character with this other like crew of people. Like that really informed like how I got to like create stories moving forward. And in college I like formed my own D&D group, and like the people that I had classes with, we would just like sort of buddy up and play together
Hmm.
and like draw pictures of our characters or funny interactions. And it brought me a lot of joy because you literally are like in real time creating a story with other people, and it's not like it's all up to you, like they get to inform the story as well. And I love that aspect of D&D, is that like every single person has a part in this, in like creating the story. Um, and and I love that that gets to be done not only just like in one group, but like everywhere, any and everywhere.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so beautiful.
It's insane because like I've dabbled with a D&D campaign once with a close buddy of mine, but regardless, like I've obviously seen several different examples out there, people like the creativity they can involve when it comes to D&D and stuff like that. A previous guest I've had on this podcast, Fairbanks VT, their experience with it was just absolutely hilarious, talking about like how ridiculous some of the scenarios. Like the one that always comes to mind for me is like they're supposed to be fighting this like giant end boss dragon that's like destroying a city, and like this little dwarf character is like, I want to punch it. Nat 20, punches in the nose, dead immediately.
And that's the beauty of it. Like, the dice help you tell that story, and you never know what you're gonna get. It's so chaotic, but it keeps you on your toes. It makes the whole thing like just so wonderful.
And I imagine that like both chaos and creativity was something that was really a driving force for the Fates Align more than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. I think I took like a decent combination of like fun, like very like crazy moments from the spelling, and then a few like heartfelt aspects from keijo, and sharing like the connection that the players have, and just like sort of combining that into one. And like it I think it had the most like world, but also like back and forth communication between the characters. It was sort of like an overarching development of like all the things that I learned from my previous films, along with my love for D&D, and like getting to combine all those things in one big that.
One big,
yeah.
I love that description. One big that. I'm sorry. It's just it's funny that I see that poster for you in the background and whatnot, because so again, back to me, my college experience and whatnot. I actually got a couple of my films in the film festivals, including the one that like my college hosted on its own or whatnot. And one of the cool things that they had allowed me to do was kind of send them a poster that they would print out. And so let's see if I can.
You have yours.
One second. Let's see if I can turn it without destroying the camera view. There you go. You can see them kind of right there. The two different years.
Oh, is it shifted? And then I can't read the other one.
It's hard to see with the light, but it's called Perfect, is what the other one's called.
Ooh, okay.
The top. So what's funny is two different posters, 2 different years, 2 completely different tones more than anything else. The top one is basically a funny comedy about a person that is just randomly gifted the ability to shapeshift and is learning how to deal with those abilities, because the way that they shapeshift is not just like simply like, I want to be a cat. No, they have to think of descriptors for the way of like in order to turn into a thing. So like the poster, it's kind of hard to see, but it's supposed to be like a little like cactus or whatnot. The way that they turn to a cactus in the film is they think, God, I don't want to deal with this prickly cactus. See, simple as that. It's
like you got to be careful about what you
think about
and manifest. And that's brilliant. Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness.
Meanwhile, Perfect was a very more serious, like, I had fun with the fun film, but I wanted to do something a little bit more serious, so I did one that basically tackled the topic of depression and the one step too far more than anything else. It kind of like 2 different people, 2 different situations, kind of dealing with that mentality more than anything else. Like I've always been a component of like the fact that I have those 2 different tones for those or whatnot. I've always been a person of like, I don't care what the story's genre is. I don't care like what exactly the story is. As long as it's a good story, it's something I want to tell. You know, and I think that's something I kind of carried with me when it came to the podcast. Like, I don't care what kind of art I'm talking about. We can talk about animation, music, thumbnails, wrestling, like whatever you consider art or whatnot. If it's a good story, I want to tell it. It's why I wanted to bring guests such as yourself on the podcast, because I think seeing kind of the stuff you've been able to develop on your own and seeing kind of the people you've been able to work with, like, that's a good story to tell, like, seeing how much you've been able to develop in, relatively speaking, a short amount of time. Like, because you've only recently graduated, like, what, last year? Correct me if I'm wrong?
That's correct, yeah. It was, yeah. That's this was crazy to think about, but thank you. Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
I was gonna say, we were just talking about the stuff you developed on your own. We hadn't even talked about like the stuff you've been able to have a hand in as well. But before we do jump into that, I just want to ask one last little project that kind of floats around the internet here and there, whatnot. Where in this timeline did the hypothetical music video come to be?
Oh gosh, I think that was during my junior year. It was an assignment I had to do. I think it was while the spelling was still in production, and the assignment was like we just had to animate, I think, 10 to 20 seconds of like a song, and it could just a person singing a song. And this song, Hypotheticals, it had earwormed itself into the crevices of my brain. And I was like, if I don't animate this, then it's never gonna leave my head. So I animated it, and then I posted it, and I did not expect it to it went all over the place.
You did not expect everyone to immediately fall in love with the animation of it, and like the
yeah, I was like, I got scared because it's not. I sometimes like when I get like an insane reaction to something that I post, I kind of have to like distance myself for a little bit, because otherwise I'll like look at it too much, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I'm flattered, but also, holy shit, that's a lot of people.
There's this weird knack that I've noticed with like some of the stuff you've been able to produce for the past couple years or whatnot. It's like, you have like your standard stuff that you work on, the incredible artwork and stuff like that, but then you'll just randomly plop like a good piece of artwork that becomes a hit tweet, and it's just like, whoa, where did this come from?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes my brain just like conjures things, because I'm like, I need to get this out of here. I need to
To be fair, you were certainly onto something when you said that song was an earworm and you need to get out of your head. Because every single time, I don't even need to hear the song start. I see a frame from that music video, and that song immediately gets stuck in my head. Like, it's a good song, and you really did a good job, like, really embracing kind of like the vibe of it, like how kind of like upbeat and bouncy it kind of was more than anything else, like, but also like the sweetness of like what the song was talking about. Like, it's a really good, like, simple, yes, but really good like work more on your end.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun with it, and I guess in a way I succeeded of like kind of getting it out of my head, but also like putting that onto you and many other people, like getting other people like obsessed with the song. But it's a good song. So
it's a great
what
song.
Can I say?
Oh no, the burden I have to carry with having a fantastic song stuck in my head.
Good song. Damn.
Oh, goodness. Has the original artist, like the original musician, know about this animation? Like, have they been able to respond to it?
So I don't know if they like commented on it or QR, like whatever it's called, QRT'd it on Twitter, but I think like a lot of people like kept tagging them. They eventually were like, oh, this is cool. I don't think it went anywhere beyond that, but the fact that they saw it, like, I didn't even, that wasn't even my intention. I just wanted to share it, but I think they did get to see it, and like knowing that, I was like, whoa, wait, that's awesome.
I mean, it's kind of to a very much lesser extent. It's like kind of the same way that like what was it, the Mortitwai, airplanes in the night sky meme or whatnot, eventually got back to Haley Williams at some point.
Yes, yeah. It traveled through. It made its journey and met one of its creators, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, regardless, like, all that along with everything else that we talked about when it comes to SVA, like your experience there, like it really, I can imagine not only it really like enriched, like you said before, like kind of your artistic skills, and really brought forth the what's the word I'm looking for? Like, really truly developed you as an artist to really get prepared for the real world or whatnot. But I imagine it probably also kind of had a hand in some of the connections you've been able to make either while you were in or after college, including with, ironically enough, another SVA graduate, if I remember correctly, working for Vivian Madrano when it comes to Spindlehorse Toons. How did that opportunity come to you? And I can only imagine how insane of an experience it was working for Viv.
Yeah, it was, oh gosh, I think, I'm trying to remember, because I do recall like applying and testing for the animation position, I think in 2020. Okay. And then that was the first time that I had like sent in my application. They responded. And this was to be a rough animator for Hell of a Boss. Mm-hmm. And the first time my skills were not developed enough. I wasn't really confident in what I had produced, but I submitted it anyways. I didn't get it. But then a few months later, that same year, oh no, I think it was 2021. I'm not 100% certain. But later on, I did improve my skill a little bit more. They had another opening for or another open call for rough animators. Sent them my reel. I got another test, applied again. That time I got it. So, and that was kind of encouraging to me because it showed that like, oh, like I can do this. Like I just need to like keep working. And it's not beyond anybody's you know, capabilities. Like you just need to work a little, you focus on the areas where you feel like you need to improve.
Right.
Learn from maybe the past experiences and take that moving forward. And that like having that first little bout of rejection, honestly, it was it didn't feel good at the time, but it made me appreciate like the fact that it was
It was a learning experience.
It helped me understand that I still needed to learn. And
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, and then after that point, I was animating. I did a little bit of cleanup for this season 2 premiere episode, and was rough animating throughout some of season 2. And then about a year later, I think they had a call for like the design team for character designs and prop designs.
Mm-hmm.
And I had done like a lot of character and prop designs, preliminary stuff for the spelling. And I was like, oh, great, this is like good portfolio stuff. I'll submit this to them. And maybe it'll be like kind of helpful that I'm already like on the team. Like they already have my information.
Right.
So I sent it to them and then they responded and I eventually was brought on to the design team as well. So not only was I like animating characters, but I would sometimes like design characters or props that I would later animate. And I'm like,
yeah.
No way. It was really cool. And it like I do like to do like multiple things within the process of like production and animation.
Mm-hmm.
And it just brought me joy that like to know that I could be a part of like 2 different parts of that process.
I mean, more than anything else, one, I love how he kind of illustrated the point that I was going to point out, which is like, hey, being on the design team, hey, if there's anyone that's going to animate this stuff, it's the person that designed this stuff. So there you go. That worked out for you at the end. But I mean, especially the world of Hell of a Boss and, all this kind of stuff, like, I can only imagine how both fun but also how much work it was to really bring it to life in one way or another with whether it's rough animation or really developing the characters that really need to be there, like especially with some of those episodes that I saw, because I correct me if I'm wrong, you were there for basically the first half of season 2 that's basically out there at this point. So like especially seeing some of the animation that was present, some of the characters that got introduced throughout that entire thing must have been a wild experience at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. The characters were so like, to be real, like they're very like complicated designs, but it definitely influenced like a lot of like my understanding of animation and like certain shortcuts to take and translating like certain like assets of a character into like how does this look when I animate it or like have to like turn the character in this way.
Right.
It was a wonderful learning experience, especially as I was like still like finishing up my final year of college. It was, yeah, it was. You okay? I'm sorry, my cat just came. Buddy,
I want more of the spotlight. Come on.
I want to be on the podcast too. I guess you can hop on my keyboard. Okay, come here. Well, he's just gonna look at me. All right. Well, anyways, I'm so sorry. I keep getting distracted.
No. You are perfectly fine. You are perfectly fine. No, but like I was saying, I can especially imagine like you were saying, like with some of those designs and like some of the sequences that had to be there, and whatnot. Like you were saying, interesting experience to say the least, and kind of really get to develop that kind of stuff. I'm curious now of all of either the characters you had a hand designing or some of the sequences you got a hand in animating or whatnot. Do you have a personal favorite, like whether favorite moment or favorite character?
Okay. Let's see. I was mostly doing props for like the first few episodes that I worked on, but then later on, Here
There you
it is.
go.
Here's a boy. Okay. I did get to do some characters. Um, there's a few character designs for a later episode that I really don't step on my keyboard. I'm sorry. Sorry. Um,
Are you
you
enjoying
can
your
stay here.
are you enjoying your 15 minutes of fame?
He didn't like that I didn't let him have computer access. You can't have any. You can't go on cool math games today. I'm sorry.
Yeah, not today.
Not today, pal.
Just give us a little bit of time, okay?
Yeah. I'm sorry. If he does that again, I might have to kick him out of my room.
No, you're good.
But to answer your question, yes, there are some character designs that are not released yet that will hopefully be released soon in a later episode that I really enjoyed having a part in. But for the work that I have done that is released, I really enjoyed getting to make like Striker's little flip phone because he has a flip phone. And I think that was under the supervision of Jane Gumball. Like I think is her Twitter.
Yep.
She gave me like a few like guidelines. Like it needs to be like an old phone, like a Nokia or something like not modern. And I did the flip phone, and I was like, what if it had like a little charm on it? And then we added like a little horseshoe charm, and I was like, he's got like a little gadget. It's so cute. Yeah, I getting to like design that, and then like a lot of the shots where he had the phone, like I also got to animate. So I was like, it's full circle.
Now we just need one of the diehard Hell of a Boss fans out there to just 3D print you that phone so you can have it in person.
Yes, please. Oh my gosh, that'd be so beautiful. All right. Somebody
No, but I mean, regardless, it was cool to know that, like, especially for a fun little detail like that, to kind of see it like come to life and like that nice little personal touch, like that's gotta be just magnifique more than anything else.
Oh, 100%. It was so fun to like see it, and the compositing too, and the cleanup team, like the way that they brought it to that like such a beautiful crispness. Like it made me so appreciative of just like all the little hands that not little, like I don't know why I said that. Like all the various components that had to be put together and brought to that point. It was just so nice to see like the polished product, and also just really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. Is it working in the sorry, what was that voice crack? Is it working in the industry just awesome? Like seeing all this stuff like really come together, become an amalgamation of this fun, beautiful craft that we see before us.
Yeah, I love it. It's cool as hell.
I mean, like, I could tell there's certainly a lot of love for it because obviously you're still a big part of it in the field, whether it's helping out with that or your newest position that you've at least been able to unveil as of late, and that is being a keyframer for the wonderful Jaiden animations. Now, I have to know, again, jumping from a different kind of jump this time with how it seems like every single part of your art career so much has been connected in one way or another, but jumping from one of the biggest like animation YouTubes to another of the biggest animation YouTubes when it comes to Jaiden animations, how did again this opportunity come to you in the first place, and how has it been really helping Jaiden animations bring this her incredible stories to life?
Yeah, similar to Spindlehorse, there was a listing I think that Jaiden just made on her main Twitter about just saying like, hey, we're expanding the team, like positions available, send us your portfolios. And I knew, I was like, oh, like this is a cool opportunity. But when I submitted my stuff, it was kind of like like it would be cool if this happened, but I'm sure they have to go through like so many resumes and like so many applications, and there's probably a lot of people who are more experienced at this than me. Like I definitely had the thought of like, okay, like there's probably not a high chance of this happening, but I should at least submit, like, because I should always no matter what, like I try to have that mentality of like just submit no matter what, like submit your application regardless of whether or not you think you're qualified. So I was like, see, and then a few weeks later, I got an email and they're like, hey, do you want to do a test for us? For a keyframer position, you'd essentially just be drawing a few poses of Jaiden, like here's some reference material. And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, I got a response. Like that's crazy. So I did the test. I just did a few drawings of like Jaiden's character, just in like some silly poses, and the goal was just essentially to like make the lines as crisp as possible, like and just make sure that there were like no breaks in the lines, and that the character was on model. And I submitted it, and later on they're like, okay, you're here, you're in it. And I don't know, it was like a huge shock moment to me, because I just didn't expect it. And it was another like experience where I'm like, okay, that's good that I like clung to that mindset of like doing it even if you don't think you have a shot, because you do have a shot. Like that's the important part of like putting yourself out there.
I mean, I've always been a component of that on my end as well, telling people that like, if you want to do something, the first step is actually doing it, or like just going forth and like putting something like, for me, when it comes to podcast guests, I at least always ask. I may not always get a response from the person, but I at least ask, because you never know who you're going to bring on the podcast. For you, hey, you put yourself out there. You never know who's going to have eyes on that stuff one way or another. So the fact that, again, arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, animation YouTubers right now, notice your stuff is like, they would help out my stuff immensely. That's gotta be surreal, especially see, the stuff the episodes you've been able to have a hand in already.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and it's, I'm so excited. Like words evade me. It's been such a wonderful experience to be a part of the team so far, and I'm already learning so much. Like the willingness of people, like even beyond like working with Jaiden, like on Spindlehorse and on the Jaiden team, like so many people will just be willing to like jump on a call and explain something to you, and like further your understanding of like a certain program, or like how to more efficiently do something. And it's been such a valuable experience to have that. And I keep gushing about it. I can't like help it. It's awesome.
Right? Exactly, it is. That's really, it's awesome. I mean, I imagine, especially for like a lot of people that are helping you out, I imagine they probably have like the same mentality that like you had starting out more than anything else. Just kind of one of those like, hey, we're all kind of new to this. We're all trying to figure out how exactly this stuff works. So anyway, we can help each other kind of, a rising tide raises all boats. So I mean, like it kind of helps out that like if everyone helps each other. But I can only imagine like, with experiences like that, and like especially all the experiences you've been able to establish beforehand and such, like thinking of your art journey as a whole, it has to be amazing for you to think of how far you've been able to develop as an artist.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy to think about. And I'm immensely thankful for like just all the people who are willing to sort of like step aside and explain things to me, because it's just so valuable to be able to have that connection with people and for them to be willing to do that. And I like it's really inspired me to like want to do that more for other people too, to like explain things or help them through a problem. And I like it feels good to be able to like share not only stories but like experiences and knowledge and new things to learn with people. It's part of like what makes art exciting to me, is like, even though like people like to joke that artists are very, which they can be at times, and I've definitely experienced like moments where I'm very secluded and like in the zone, and like I can't talk to somebody, I need to like work on this. Like art is a very communicative and like community building sort of thing. It's just so awesome that I really derive a lot of happiness from that. And so to be where I am now, like I don't think I could have done it with like without the community that I have like found myself in.
I mean, at the end of the day, especially the community you've kind of found yourself in, it's probably one of the best communities out there when it comes to the internet, like just as a whole. Like the fact that there's a lot of people willing to help each other out and really try to really, bring up each other for the end goal of producing incredible art. I mean, I think we can all agree at the end of the day that's what we're all kind of hoping for, right?
Oh, yes. Couldn't have said it better myself. Like it's just no, like seriously, it just it's a good feeling. I not to sound like a broken record. It's I'm happy to like be able to do this. Like this is something that I didn't think possible like in my formative years. Like I didn't think that I'd be able to come this far with my art. Like I always thought it would just be something that I did
Mm-hmm.
and was like secondary to my career. Like I didn't really but the fact that like I can do it and share it with people and it, connect with people, it's just I'm rambling.
Hey, this is a podcast. I encourage rambling, okay? Well, if I may, for this next question, how about we keep that like good vibes and get the mentality, and let's have the why don't we have the good vibes roll, however that phrases or whatnot. And if I may, Brooke, how about I give you more or less the dream scenario, if I may.
Okay.
Let's say I come up to you and like, I'm big shot Mr. Moneybags. I come up to you and like, look, Brooke, good old Brooskee, we know
Yes.
exactly what you're capable of, all right? We've seen the hand that you've had, whether it be on your own or helping out these incredible people, and we feel like there's something special there for you. You just need that little extra, little extra push, little extra platform to really get you above and beyond to create some incredible stuff. We have access to everyone and anyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than should be possible. We really should be compensating the animators out there in the world. Because in fact, that the guild contract's coming up soon. We'll focus on
Oh,
them
yeah,
later.
yeah. Okay. Oh, okay.
We'll focus on them later. Right now, we are focusing on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Brooke Burnett project?
Okay. I'm trying to think. So, uh, this is so hard. I think because it's a territory in which I have not fully delved into, and I always like to expand like my artistic knowledge and vision. I would love to create like some sort of um like web comic with
Ooh.
music video or like visual animated element tie-in like for every chapter maybe there's like a
Ooh.
short or something um I because I think web comics are such a wonderful way to like portray a story and like it doesn't demand the most like sit down time for a person like they can be consumed in various places and but to like to have like maybe characters you see in an otherwise like static framing and then like have that translated to a music video or
Mm-hmm.
something to like portray those story beats. I would really like to do something like that. And I know that's not this is me like pitching it to Mr. Moneybags. Like I know that's not like the most succinct answer, but think about how cool it would be. We'd like breaking new territory kind of ish, new ground.
I mean,
And like the
I know,
yeah.
I know. It seems like you're trying to pitch an idea that you're not confident in or whatnot. But like, honestly, like the more you talk about it, it's more I'm like intrigued, kind of having that little like animated tie-in when it comes to that kind of stuff. It reminds me of what was it? If you remember, Planet Panic by Gene Goldstein or whatnot. The fact that his was a animated basically an animated web comic to where like yeah you had like the pages and the panels but like they were animated in a way to where like they worked in kind of a loop in a way or whatnot,
Yeah.
so but like kind of expanding on that a little bit more, not just having like the animated pages, but like having like a true like musical component to go with it. Really like having like a definitive like like short or like finale piece for like every page or every chapter or whatnot to really like go forth that kind of thing. That sounds like a fun idea more than anything else.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I've like seen other people do it in like their own fashion. Like you said, Gene stuff, phenomenal. Like
Mm-hmm.
I so inspirational. Like I would love to do that sort of thing as well, and also like just like tie in more. because I found that I do love creating films, but I also like I want to do more than that. But I also want to keep creating films. But I
Right.
also want to like pick up pick up new methods of creating stories and see what I can do with it and really experiment.
Okay.
Um, and whether that, if I incorporate a story of my own past creation or create something new, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm still kind of like processing all the college burnout and like
Honestly,
rediscovering like,
understandable,
yeah.
understandable.
But yeah, I would love to do something like that. Maybe we will
Okay,
see.
okay. I mean, I was gonna ask if there was like a particular like story or concept that you'd like to toy
Hmm.
around with that kind of that stuff, but I see that's still part of the development aspect or whatnot. But I mean, regardless, like it sounds like a fun idea, and like however you decide to go forth with that, one way or another, I'd love to see that. And obviously, Mr. Moneybags would like to help however he can to make that
Oh,
reality.
thank
So,
you. Thank you, Mr. Moneybags. Much appreciated.
absolutely. But sadly, we gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to
Okay.
reality, and I'll ask the ever so generic question: where do you hope to see yourself in, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
Hmm. I kind of want to be surprised. Like I don't
Ooh.
I don't want to like say like this is where I want to be
Well, right,
because
right.
like it's good to have that mindset. Like I think um when I entered college, like my ideal was like okay, when I graduate college, I'm going to live in LA, which is fine, and I'm going to, work for Cartoon Network. Well, Cartoon Network doesn't exist anymore. And also, so it's like I really I want to, I just, like, bottom line, I want to keep creating. I want to, like, keep telling stories with friends, like, sharing my art with people, like, for the rest of my life. So I want to do that for the next 5 years. But also, like, especially with kind of just, like, stepping into this weird climate with that animation is in right now and, like, working for a lot of independent creators, like, it's really, like, shifting my view of, oh, like, what I wanted is kind of, like, not 100% like beyond me, but it's like constantly changing, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. It's not exactly what I had like planned for, but I
Mhm.
I absolutely love the place that I'm in, and I want to keep growing. And I like that it was kind of a like it all of the, applications and work, like that was intentional, but where I am is kind of like a surprise in the grand scheme of like it's not what I expected going into college. Um so I long answer short, I would like a surprise. I would like to be
Okay.
surprised. I just want to keep working hard, having fun, making silly stories with friends. Maybe I'll expand, maybe start a webcomic, maybe I'll make another short. Um, I want to be happy. That
There
is
you
my
go.
answer. That is my final answer.
I was
That's where
gonna
I want to
say,
be in 5 years.
I was gonna say, the long and short of it, no matter what life does throw at you, hopefully for better more than for worse or whatnot, but whatever life does decide to throw at you, as long as you're happy in the end, I think that's a good thing to achieve for more than anything else. Especially with how today's society is and how chaotic it can be. Happiness is all we can ask for.
Yes, it's necessary. Some might
Yes,
say.
is vital. Um, as we start to wind down the podcast, I just have one last question that I want to ask you, Brooke. Obviously, you've been deeply entrenched in art for years. Like that creativity has been with you ever since you were little, developing fun little scenarios with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Littlest Pet Shops or My Little Pony and such. Like that love for art is always there. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
Um, I'd say it's pretty. It's like not no. It's very important. It's like what I mean like it's so I keep using the word informative, but I can't think of any other synonyms. But it is. It is like the cultural foundation for our society. It's how we consume things. It's how we want, come up with new ideas. It's how we communicate with people. It's so immensely important to me and to everyone else, whether or not they realize it. Um, and yeah, it literally it has brought me so much joy and opportunity and friendship. And I know the same can be said for people who are not even in creative fields. Like it is meant to be like discussed and talked about, even if it's not something immensely serious. Like it's just everything. That's not it. That's I don't know what that was, but it's all around us. It's important. It's so important.
No matter how
That was
rambly, no, I say no. Hey, no matter how rambly you think it was, I think that the point truly is there. Like what you're trying to get at, the fact that it is there, it is ever present. People should acknowledge and love it more than anything else. But I mean, again, as rambly as you think it was, I personally think it was wonderfully worded. If I do say so myself.
Thank you. I do try. I'm not the most poetic speaker, but
I,
sometimes words do form sentences when they come out of my mouth. So,
I think the point is there. I think what you're trying to get at is obviously how important art is there, and that's the baseline of it more than anything else.
yes.
But like I said, that's all the questions I have for you, Brooke. I've already showered you with a whole bunch of praise throughout this podcast, but I'm gonna show you a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what I want. No, but like seriously, like I said before, ever since I first got a chance to see your art with the hypotheticals music video, like I have been hooked. Oh jeez, that was a glitch right there. I have been hooked. I have been hooked line and sinker to your art and such. Like I cannot get enough of it. Like the way you really either embrace an art style or the art style that you put forth more than anything else. Like I crave it and I cannot get enough of it every single chance I get to see it. Getting the chance to really sit down with you right now, get to talk to you, hear about your story, see about how everything's kind of more or less like connected and built up to this incredible artist that you are today. With I can imagine so many incredible opportunities so far, so many incredible people that you've met along the way. Because I've seen stuff like with what was it like was it ragtag stuff or whatever the person's name is or whatnot. Like seeing
Yeah.
seeing the opportunities you had to be like working with them or like going to these fun opportunities. Like it's really made me more or less like love and appreciate just how far you've been able to develop as an artist, and it really makes me excited to see what you're able to do next because what you've been able to showcase so far is absolutely insane. It's absolutely wonderful, especially someone at your age. Like the fact that I'm saying that I'm like 5 or 6 years older than you, so it's not like it's not
Yeah.
like back
Yeah.
in my day. How could people? No, it's like even then, like it's insane what you've been able to produce so far, and it makes me happy and excited to see what's gonna be next for you. I mean, if this is what you're able to accomplish at this point, working with some of the biggest people when it comes to the internet and stuff like that, I can only imagine if you get more opportunities to work with like somehow bigger names and bigger places and bigger opportunities. Like you said, like it's as long as you get to be happy and be able to continue creating what you're able to do. I'm sure whatever you're gonna be putting out there, people such as myself are gonna absolutely love it and be rooting for you every single step of the way. So thank you for what you do. Please keep up the incredible work. Don't stop being creative because we all love that creativity.
Thank you. That's so kind. I genuinely appreciate it. And likewise, like I appreciate you creating this podcast and creating a platform for artists to like share their experiences, and I'm honored to be on it and be a part of it. This is like so wild and cool and awesome, and thank
Hey,
you as well. Like this is incredible.
hey, you've more than earned it at this point, especially with your incredible work. So thank you for your time as well. But also, I genuinely do appreciate the words. Thank you a lot.
Of course.
Now, if people, if for some reason, and especially this late in the podcast, have no idea what we've been talking about the entire time, and want to see the incredible work that you've had a hand in, or you've been able to produce your stuff, go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home.
Okay, yes. So you can follow me on Instagram at Brooskee, which is BROOSKEE. And then Twitter and YouTube are the same thing, except there's a B at the end, so it's Brooskee, because Brooskee was taken on both those platforms. I think that's it. I don't think I have. Oh, and then my website is artofbrooke.com. All one word. If you just want to, I don't know, see it all in one place.
If nothing else, if there is any links that you missed or whatnot, I'll be sure to have it in the description below. So I got you covered.
Okay, awesome.
If nothing else, I'll be sure to link people to that incredible shop that you have with some of those fun little designs that you got up there.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have any final words before we sign off?
Um, be happy, make silly things. That's it.
You know
Be
what?
silly.
Be silly. I think that's a wonderful way to word it. And with that, all I have left to say is for the people at home. No, I mean, no, in all seriousness, for the people at home, if you can, pay your artists.
That is true.
Tell me what's wrong, tell me its parts in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can all open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I greatly do appreciate it. Brooke, like I said in the intro, was someone that I've been wanting to have on the podcast for a while, and so to get the opportunity to talk to her and have such a fun conversation at the end of the day, Brooke, if you've gotten up to this far, I cannot thank you again for taking the time. I know we've been talking a bit back and forth about making this episode happen, so I'm glad we can actually make that reality. I'm glad to be able to provide conversations like this for people like you guys, showing off kind of the hard work that a lot of people put in to get to where they are. You know, I don't know if everyone that listens to the podcast follows me on Twitter, but this past week I put out a little prompt because I had a thought that I wanted to see if it was true or not. I put out a random thing asking people, artists in particular, how often they deal with the fact that, or deal with the thought that their art is not good enough, quote unquote, despite what everyone else says. See, I'm always a person that tries to champion a person's artwork. I always try to bring on people that I know have done incredible artwork and such. And I've had a lot of people also tell me that, like, you know, the podcast is good and such, but that doesn't mean that I also don't have those thoughts that, you know, maybe my podcast isn't good enough. Maybe it's too lazy. Maybe it's too sloppy. Maybe I'm a horrible host. Like, I have those thoughts. And so I wanted to see if it was true with the people in the art world. And honestly, the responses I got from that, like, I expected some responses, but, like, even then from some of the people that I got from, it absolutely amazed me. I got some from people that are fans of the podcast. I got some from people that are former guests of the podcast. I've gotten responses from people that have worked years in the industry, well before I even considered art a thing. And the fact that there are people like that, you know, just about every single day, maybe even every single minute, who knows, maybe even every single second, think that their art is not good enough. It blows my mind, people. I hope you realize that with this podcast, like, I'm not just trying to make it feel like I'm putting every single artist, like, I know I made the joke on Twitter as well, but, like, I'm not just trying to take, like, a particular artist and, like, their pieces of art and just put it on the fridge and be like, this is great, this is fantastic. No. With every single artist that I bring on here, with every single person that supports the podcast, that interacts with it, every opportunity that I get, I want people to know that their art is more than good enough. Even if you're just starting out, just scribbling stuff on paper, whether you're at that point or whether you're 30, 40, 50 years in the industry, if you ever have that thought that your art is not good enough, I sincerely hope you know that that is not the case. I hope you know that that is just your mind messing with you. That's the same thing with me in this podcast at times. You know, I know that every time I have my doubts, it's just me. It's just my brain being fun and silly for a moment. I think the way that I truly know that my podcast is good is the continued love and support that I get from guys like you that are willing to stick around to the very last second of the podcast just to see what random BS I spout out at the end. You know, it's the interactions that I get, the friends that I've made. I know that this podcast is good enough, and I sincerely hope for every artist out there that ever has that doubt that their art is good enough. No, don't have that thought. Your art is more than good enough. Your art is fantastic. You being able to put yourself out there is fantastic. You being able to bare your heart and soul and like try something, truly express yourself. You are more than good enough. That art is more than good enough. And yes, sure, it may not be like this person, or it may not be like that person, or it may not be a person that you admire, or a person that has, more successful career. That doesn't matter. Your art is more than good enough because it is you. It is a true expression of you. That's what should matter more at the end of the day. Whether or not that art truly represents you. This podcast truly represents me. It showcases the love I have for people such as yourself, such as Brooke, such as all the guests that I've been able to have on this podcast. Even if I don't know their stuff when I first have them on, or when I first invite them, I should say, I grow to truly love and appreciate what they do. And I hope that you guys showcase that love and support back to these guests, such as you need to show that love and support for yourself. Because I'm letting you know right now, your art will always be good enough.